I had a patient of mine say, hey, I've been at the gym. There's this, he said, peptide, and said, I want to inject this because everyone's doing it. They're getting jacked. They're feeling good. And it's just going, everyone at the gym. You have to buy the vial because this is like a legit company that sells to doctors. It's not one of these Chinese peptides that you find in the gray market. So I went to the website and he said, but you have to buy it for me. It's $500. I'll inject it myself. And so I asked him, I thought I studied philosophy in college and at Berkeley. And I thought, well, what's the one question I can ask him to maybe slow this train down? So I had to think of I had to go deep into the philosophical playbook. I said, how do you know that that molecule is in that vial? And he said, what do you mean? It says so right there on the bottle. And this is a reputable company. I said, do we trust it? He goes, well, of course we trust it. I said, well, I don't. And I think if you want to inject something in your most valuable asset, the thing that if you F it up, like you may be irreversible. Why don't I buy that vial and I'll send it to the company that checks all the drugs that come into the United States for contamination and clarity. So I called the CEO of Valid. If it's contaminated by 0.2%, it doesn't make it to the shelf. The contamination levels to get approved are like 0.02%.
Yeah, and these are injectables, not just oral things. These are things that go straight to your bloodstream.
I called up the CEO and I said, can we run a test on this vial? And he said, man, we don't really do these peptide things. I mean, we do real drugs. And I said, but can you? He goes, well, we'd have to recalibrate the machine. And we could, but it would cost a lot of money. How much money? $15,000 to calibrate and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, so I call my guy up and I'm like, 15 grand if you want me to prescribe this for you. Pay the guy over there. Let's run the thing. I get an email from the CEO. Call me on this number. I want to go over the results in person with you. So in the vial was the peptide as promised, at the dosage as promised.
Okay.
Next ingredient was MDMA.
What's that?
Ecstasy. The drug that people take to feel really good. And by the way, ecstasy increases your release of oxytocin. Yeah, that's the affection molecule that in moms and babies gets released when they're breastfeeding and stuff. So guess what's going to happen when you take that peptide?
You're going to feel great.
Yeah.
Great. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to tell all your friends. So the third ingredient was an industrial herbicide that they use to kill weeds on farms in high concentrations. The fourth ingredient was some random industrial chemical. Again, these are all like in real quantities in that vial. These are not like trace elements.
Yeah.
And then the fifth ingredient was another MDMA psychoactive substance. And then there was like two other ingredients were these industrial chemicals. CEO of the testing company said, Jordan, this is bananas. I've never seen anything like it. I did some research on the company that, and this company's on, I'm not going to mention it, but a big website, it's where everybody's buying their stuff. And he said, I did some research on the founders of this company and their company got shut down like 3 years ago. And they just re-popped up with a new company and a new name. And it's like whack-a-mole out there in this space. This is what's happening out there. So right. I caution people, beware of injecting yourself with something